Hey Candra, it's Dr. Scott. I have some feedback for you on your Essay 2 draft. Just as a quick reminder for this assignment, I'm taking a look at your ability to write a thesis statement that's interesting, that's clear, and that's argumentative, something that can be debated. I'm also taking a look at your ability to use details from the murals and also to use a couple sources or a couple quotes to support your argument. Also looking at organization and transitions, and organization is having ideas, similar ideas together, but then also having a reason for why you have one set of ideas and then the next set of ideas. So there's a reason why we're going from one idea to another, and using transitions to help you do that. Third, I'm taking a look at your ability to integrate sources, and I think that's it. Yep, that's it. So those are the four main criteria for this assignment. So I'm just going to kind of go through and explain my feedback that I have, and I just wrote a few quick notes to myself of things to remind myself to talk to you about. And some of them are small, but there are two or three bigger issues that need to be addressed in the revision. So I'll just kind of go through the draft and explain my comments. All right. So I highlighted this right here. I noticed a pattern of comma splices. So you'll have a sentence here, Portsmouth is far from young, and then we have another sentence, the town was founded in 1803, and it's combined with just a comma. It's not that huge of a deal. You can fix it by adding one of those 7 words for and, nor, but, or, yet, or so. But I noticed that in more than just a couple places, and I think I'll mention a couple of them here in the video, but it'll be up to you to kind of fix that. I think it's totally fine to write an introduction later. Right now it's kind of going back and forth between things. You have the thesis statement in here, which is great at this point, but you'll probably need to revise that introduction to so it's a better introduction to the essay as a whole. That might be a good place to use use a quote from either the documentary that we watched or the Scioto Historical website. So one of the bigger issues is for you to address is it wasn't clear to me like why you had ideas grouped in the way that you did. Why did we begin with color? That wasn't clear to me, and it also wasn't clear why we were going to the realness of the murals, and then finally I think its detail is in the final body paragraph. So there didn't seem to be a very clear reason why we started here and then maybe went elsewhere. I like this explanation here, though, that you provide about the effect color can have, and I think that's helpful. It was useful to me to understand where you were going to go with that paragraph. I thought you had some great detail here in the top part of the paragraph, and you did a good job of bringing it back to the paper's overall argument. So the first half of this paragraph is really strong, and I really appreciated it. Where things got a little off the rails for me was when we were in the Marlowe part of the paragraph. There wasn't that much. There's a little bit of discussion of color, but there's a lot of things here that are not about color. And so I had a hard time understanding how all these ideas were related to each other. I think you can do that. I think you can talk about color in the Marlowe mural, and it's not as evident, it's not as clear with the congregation, as clear with the congregation mural, but it's definitely there to talk about. But there's quite a bit of detail in here that doesn't seem to have much to do with color, and it'll probably need to find another home to make room for a discussion about color that works with the first half of the paragraph. Here I noticed is the other place that I noticed a comma splice. So you have a sentence here and a sentence here, and kind of combine it with just a comma. All right. There's also places in your essay where I felt like more description and more detail was needed. So here we have the congregation's mural completely on point, and the scaling of the whole mural makes all the buildings look massive. I like the discussion of scaling. I think that's an interesting idea to take a look at. But just kind of saying that they're on point really doesn't describe. That tells me something, but it doesn't really show me anything. towards the end of this paragraph and going into the next one, it was a little difficult for me to understand exactly how they were different from each other. And I think that they are. It took me a couple reads to figure that out, and I think some clarity here would help. And so this paragraph here is about how realistic the murals look, and this down here is about the ability to use detail, but there's quite a bit of overlap. And I think what that'll mean is that, like, in these body paragraphs, you'll need to explain a bit, you'll need to remind us a bit more that one paragraph is talking about reality and the other paragraph is talking about detail. Again, like the first body paragraph, having reasons why you're going from one to the other and making that reason evident to the reader, that's something that needs to happen in the revision as well. Okay. I think the final body, is this the final body paragraph? No, it's the conclusion. I think using this source, I don't think that works. It was really confusing, and it felt like you were like, oh yeah, I need to put in a source. And so I got something here about Portsmouth, and that's not going to work. You've got the Floodwall mural documentary. You also have the Scioto Historical website. I think they've actually got something on Marlow, and I believe that they have something on area churches. So there's something out there for you to use that's going to be a lot better than somebody that's saying that they're scared to walk around after 5 p.m. But all right, that's my feedback. Just to kind of recap, I think revising the second half of the colored paragraph, there's some material there that doesn't seem to relate to the first half of that body paragraph. Clarifying the difference between the second and third body paragraphs, I think that's maybe not as big of a priority. One thing that is missing in here is having a rationale for how your paper is organized and making that rationale a bit more evident for us as readers. Balance detail between Marlow and the congregations. There's some paragraphs where you have a lot of detail about Marlow and not much detail about the congregation mural. And I think in another paragraph that's flipped, you have more about the congregation and less about Marlow. And there's also kind of attention to detail. There's not a semicolon in the paper, and I think there was a requirement that you include one or two. I think you'll need to use a source that will actually help you with this paper. And there's just like some tiny spelling and stuff like that, which is fine for a draft, but just so you know, for the revision, that should get cleaned up. All right, Candra, that's it for now. If you got questions, let me know. I'd be happy to chat with you and talk about your revision ideas. Your revision's due Monday the 12th. All right, and I'll talk to you soon.